The extreme flight test the new 747-8 freighter has been performing can make your heart skip a beat. Boeing test pilots repeatedly dragged the airplane's tail on a California runway. The velocity minimum unstick test is designed to figure out the lowest speed the freighter can take off. Shade will tell you it is a difficult maneuver to pull off.
It's a balance between being forceful and being gentle. We want to be forceful to get the airplane's tail moving down towards the runway. But of course, we want to be very gentle when we set the airplane's tail down on the runway.
It was all force when the 747-8, loaded down with 1,005,000 pounds, soared into the sky. Well, since this flight in June, the airplane has broken its own record by taking off at 1,010,000 pounds. The issue of ground effects comes into play. So over several days in October, test pilots commanded the 747-8 freighter to basically hover over the runway. This examines the aerodynamic effects when the airplane is close to the ground. This test helps verify the jet's stability and control while gathering data for the engineering team to finalize the Autoland system.
Weights of the airplane, different flap settings of the airplane, really understanding and simulating what the airplane could see in service.
8.45.
Gravity-defying tests continue.
Recover.
In this clip from August, the pilots purposely put the freighter into a stall to make sure it can recover. And time and again, the airplane was up to the challenge.
In most of the stalls that I've flown, I merely relax back pressure on the column to neutral column, and the airplane recovers just fine.
You are cleared for kicks.
The pilots are also verifying the airplane can dampen out vibrations when they intentionally pulse or excite the wing and other control surfaces.
Left.
While the 747-8 freighter officially cleared flutter testing earlier in the year, the program continues to test for flutter as it refines the flight control laws.
You know, we've made significant progress in resolving the issues that we found during the flight test program. We have implemented fixes on the airplane, and we are now driving towards all of the fundamental testing that we have to complete to certify and deliver the airplanes.
The flight test program is about two-thirds of the way complete, as the 4 test airplanes have now surpassed 1,500 flight hours. The pilot, who has been in the flight deck for many of those hours, says it truly is an amazing machine.
A new 747-8 pilot, I would tell him, be excited. It's going to deliver on the promise of better efficiency, better performance, payload, and a quieter machine. But best of all, from a pilot's perspective, they're going to enjoy flying it.
In the emergency event that we have to make a rejected takeoff at these heavy weights, it takes a long distance for the airplane to stop. It's just like in your car.
Captain Kurt Vining and the Boeing test and evaluation team are about to put the airplane through the ultimate rejected takeoff, or RTO. First, the crew installs a set of 100% worn-out brakes. Technicians also fuel the airplane up to maximum takeoff weight of just over 975,000 pounds, pushing all 4 engines to maximum thrust. But just as the airplane is going at over 200 miles or 320 kilometers per hour, he slams on the brakes. To channel maximum energy to the carbon brakes, the pilot cannot use the thrust reversers.
The whole intent is to demonstrate under worst conditions, you could safely stop the aircraft.
The brakes, made by Goodrich, do exactly as they're supposed to. In fact, the 747-8 stops earlier than the team had hoped, beating the target by more than 700 feet or 200 meters. But stopping is just half the challenge. Now the airplane must prove it can withstand the tremendous heat that built up in the wheels, estimated to be more than 1,400 degrees Celsius.
And it's a simple physics problem. We have to turn that kinetic energy into heat in the brakes.
As expected, smoke pours out from the brakes as they glow a bright orange. Still, the firefighters who are standing by can't do anything but watch for the next 5 minutes.
And that's to simulate that if you were at an airport, you had an RTO, you wouldn't necessarily have the fire department right there. So you demonstrate that worst case would be 5-minute response time for a fire department to get to the airplane.
By design, special fuse plugs in the tires are activated, deflating the tires before they explode. Finally, at the 5-minute mark, firefighters move in with plenty of water. While the tires and brakes will have to be replaced, the rest of the airplane is perfectly fine.
Do you want to turn up the screens? Just we turn the screens down to save them, but we'll turn them back up for you.
You don't mind if I call the company?
Yeah, by all means. Hi.
How are you?
You good?
40 minutes, 322.
See, Johnny. We try.
Yeah, this is food operation.
Oh, no, you get with my first officer. Okay.
Emirates 322. We would like to know if you can get the arrival time for Asiana 525.
.747-8 Intercontinental. This is Boeing's newest airplane on the drawing boards right now. If you look at the performance and you look at the economics, this is not the 747-400 it's flying today. So we really put a lot of research and effort into making sure when the passengers walk in here, it's going to be the favorite airplane in the sky. I'm Ken Price, and I'm a regional director in the Passenger Satisfaction and Revenue Group. Every time we have anybody walk in this mock-up, we get the same reaction as in the 787. Wow.
It's an all-new interior. It's very exciting. When you first walk in, you'll have a new door-to entry, feeling of abundant space. You'll have staircases that'll invite you to the upper deck. I am Roy Eggink, Chief Engineer, 747 Product Development.
Two primary themes: welcome passengers to the airplane and connect them to the flying experience. We have taken the research that we learned from the passenger experience, the 787, and executed that on this airplane. We did a lot of the same techniques to connect the passengers to the experience of flying. LED lights and lighting that really open the cabin up and give it much more of an ambiance of being outside and of a lot more space.
We have all new curved architecture here with the new ceiling panels. The bins themselves have all been curved and a lot more modernized.
Probably one of the biggest areas of stress before a passenger boards is, am I going to have enough space for my bag? That's why everybody rushes on the airplane early. It was a real interesting design goal. The bins have to look smaller when they're closed, to open up the architecture, but they have to look bigger when they're open. So if you notice, the bins are extraordinarily deep, but most importantly, they're shaped right, that you can take a large rollerboard and fit it in transverse. We've redesigned the whole atrium welcome and stairway on the new 747-8 Intercontinental to be much wider, more attractive, and open, so it pulls the passengers upstairs. Now, the upper deck on the 747-8 retains the intimacy that makes the upper deck on all 747s so popular today, but from a practical standpoint, the lighting and the bin volume has gone up.
You will not feel deprived at all coming off of a 787 to a 747-8. They are as modern and as complementary of a fleet as I've ever seen.
We've raised the bar with the 787. We had to exceed it with this airplane.
This is a test aircraft. So what we can see inside is all the test equipment that are needed to perform continuous monitoring on the performance of the aircraft. It is a unique occasion to really see the infrastructure and the architecture of an A380. So the MSN-4 is the second A380 that has ever been built, and since 2007 it continues to be shown, to be carried around the world and be shown at air shows, and also to perform airport compatibility tests. In all our stops with the A380 MSN-4, we receive many visits and many visitors that enter this aircraft would like to dream of how a cabin of an A380 in service with airlines could be. That's the reason why we have realized a new 3D video describing all the amenities and all the innovations that we can have on board an A380, thanks to the surface.
Hello, welcome aboard the Airbus A380. Just this way to the suite.
Welcome aboard. Let me introduce you to your suite. The A380. Private minibar, a goodie basket for your selection of vanity key, remote controller to control the TV features, the seat features, and the suite private features as well.
Welcome to the business class. This is the business class seat here. These are the two center seats here, which is basically designed for our couples traveling together or anyone else traveling together here. To use the privacy divider, which goes all the way up. It's a fully flat bed, 180 degrees here in business class.
Kind of standard pitch here, which is the old measurement for customer comfort. We mostly measure it in so-called living space, because living space means much more to the passenger than just seat pitch, because the ergonomics of the seat, that's something that is very important as well. And this seat works much better in its living space than nearly any other seat before, that not only we operated, but our competition is operating as well. So they are all equipped with in-seat screens, with a new IFE system installed on this aircraft. Somebody of you would like to take the seat and to try it, just feel free. By designing the whole cabin, you see we have different partitions that you don't really have the impression of being in an aircraft of that size. Overall, seating capacity in the economy class department is about 420 seats. Any questions?
The success of the A380 first is derived from the passenger experience. The A380 offers the most comfortable cabin in the industry today. Passengers prefer the A380 because of its spaciousness with our 18-inch seats, and also not to forget the quietest cabin in the sky. Going forward, we're going to see traffic doubling over the next 15 years. And with this, we have to change our mindset. Let's remember that the A380 is the aircraft for growth. And in the last half decade, we've been in a no-growth scenario. But now as we exit this recession, we're in the prime time period to capture all of the growth that's laying ahead of us. One benefit often overlooked when having an A380 in your network is the effect that it has on the connecting traffic. This means not only that you stimulate traffic demand from other origin and destination pairs, but also you can improve the yields of those connecting flights. When you're traveling long haul, say Trans-Pacific, there are only so many time slots in a day that you would want to take off when you consider what time you would arrive in the morning. So from a pure passenger preference, there are peak hours of when you want to travel. The A380 offers the solution through picking up the most capacity on these peak hours and thus bringing in the most revenue for the airline. London Heathrow is a perfect example for where the A380 is offering solutions to congestion. This year, British Airways will be introducing their A380 to also take advantage of the benefits that the 380 brings to congestion, but also to the overall economics in the network. The opportunity for the A380 is now, as we exit the recession and look at all of the growth ahead of us. The A380 offers the best solution with 40% more capacity, with the ability to optimize your schedules, to maximize your revenues with the highest yield routes. All of this without sacrificing comfort.
We see A380 as an essential aircraft for future aviation. Growth is simply too great, too fast to be able to accommodate traveling public without this large aircraft. It offers best economics for airlines in terms of both revenues and costs in operating this aircraft in the future.
Today, more than half the long-haul traffic in the world goes between just 42 megacities. These are cities that have more than 10,000 passengers long-haul each day. In 20 years' time, there'll be 89 such megacities, most of them in Asia-Pacific.
Large trunk routes are growing faster than anything else in the world. People are traveling more and more, so A380 is a solution that's coming. And on top of that, it's an aircraft that provides unbeatable product compared to anything else that flies today, and at unbeatable economics for airlines that will operate it.